Okay. Get my phone. Excuse me, my brothers and sisters here. I had to make some changes here. I'm uh, um, I'm over looking for my cell phone here. I don't know where I put it. Um, okay. You see it? My brothers and sisters, hold it for 1 second while I try to retrieve my phone here. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Well, alhamdulillah wa rabbil alameen. Assalatu salam ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Well, thank you, my dear brothers and sisters who are here. Mystic, salam, my dear sister. Juma Mubarak. And those who will show up in the future. I'm going to cover a topic that is not really Islamic, but it deals with justice. And the Muslim is ordered to fight for justice any place, every place on this globe. And I'll be remiss as a son of a black man, African, that I don't talk about the injustices that has occurred against my people for almost now 500 years. And I'm going to talk about this speech by our famous ancestral brother, Frederick Douglass, a beautiful speech, a haunting speech, a speech that I wish we had leaders today who could echo what he had said in this letter. And we as Black people, as Africans born in America, should reflect and honor our ancestral brothers more, and not be so afraid of what the Tubab. And for those who don't understand this word Tubab is a Mindi word in Dinka, and it means European, white man, American. This is what this word is. It's not a slang word. It is not profanity. It's not derogatory. That's actually meaning for the designation of people who are not Black. So I use this word because I'm African. And I know the Europeans who have ill will for us do not like for us Africans to use our languages to describe him. He calls this reverse discrimination. When this man has brutalized us for 400 to 500 years, as though we have no right to talk and use our own language. I mean, this is terrible. But I'm not afraid of that today. and I have adopted African language, and I'm going to adopt more, inshallah ta'ala. And I urge every African born in America to pick up a dialect in Africa. Because if you listen to your English, you have never, for these 400, 500 years, have ever mastered the English language. And it's a reason. It's not your language. Why is it that you pronounce the English words different than the Tuba? Because it's his language, not ours. So I say that not in rebellion to anything, but into rebellion against the tyranny that we have faced by this Tuba for 400, 500 years. And they have the audacity to call us, when we talk against them, reverse discrimination. They call it militancy. It's funny. Now here you've been killed and slaughtered by this Tuba, by his system, by his food, by his mechanisms, by his culture, by his degradation of our culture, by his systematic disenfranchisement of our ancestors and our people today. And yet when we talk about it and try to uplift ourselves, they call it what? Militancy. They only want us to be beckoning down at their feet, and I won't do it. And now most Black people will not do it in America or elsewhere. We're starting to wake up, and this is good. So with that said, 4th of July is the epitome of our covenant with death, because as soon as that Tuba kidnapped us from the continent of our beautiful continent here in Africa and put us there in America, we have embarked on a covenant with death that no one else has had to live through. The only one I can say close to that is the American Indian, because he had his land taken from him and stolen, and he was slaughtered as well. But we were taken from our land, and we were not allowed to keep our culture and our names and so forth and so on, food, language and whatnot. But that covenant of death is still with us today. When you read this speech, I have forgot all about this speech of Frederick Douglass. It is so beautiful. It's haunting, but it's to the point. And it describes the covenant of death that this Tuba has laid out for us for 500 years, and he's still killing us, and he has not stopped. And he's even come here in Africa to put his poison in here in Africa and to still try to kill us. Who you think is behind why we can't get citizenship in Africa? It's him. And we have too many of our leaders in Africa still listening to this wretched Tuba, who's a genocidal racist. And he stopped us. He doesn't want us even leaving Africa. As I told many before, when I came here to Africa, I was here more about a year, maybe 2 years, maybe less than that. And I had this Tuba come to me out of the embassy to tell me I had no right to be here in Africa. Yes, their arrogance, their genocidal arrogance, that he even like the earth is no place for us. We leave, you tell us, you call us NIGGER, then you tell us to leave America to come to Africa. We do that. And then you come over here and you go behind our governments, you grab them by the, you know what I mean, by the testicles, and then you pressure him and you tell him, don't give these Black people these are our brothers and sisters, and you tell them, don't give them citizenship, or you don't give them residency and so forth and so on. But the Tuba who comes in many of the countries, he has committed crimes. We know this. He has done things. He has not even adapted. He uses the country, and yet he's given citizenship, and he's given citizenship quickly. But me or you who come out from LA or from Dallas or something like this, we come to the continent, we got to fight, we got to claw, we got to do everything to get the citizenship. This Tuba walks in, he gets a citizenship, no problem. It's not right. That's something we have to fix among ourselves. So let's talk about the speech of Frederick Douglass. He talked about July the 4th, which many of you know is the independence, American independence. And the other day, I was looking at some programs, Salam Alaikum, my dear sister Amina, and I saw Africans born in America, African Americans, whatever you want to call them, celebrating this day. I saw mainly sisters, African American, Africans born American sisters, who were celebrating. Some even had tears in their eyes talking about this day. And I was astonished to see that. And I asked the question, I said, where have these sisters been? For them to shed tears for the blood that are not shed tears talking about the blood we have shed in that country, but to elevate this day of the Tuba. Because that's what it is. It's the day for the Tuba. It's not the day for the African. It's the day for the Tuba and what he has done and continue to do against the African people and against the melanated people across the world. So let's get to the speech by our eloquent ancestral brother, Frederick Douglass. He was not a Black nationalist per se. He wasn't a Pan-Africanist per se. He was just an intellectual. He fought for the rights of for the Black man and his family in America under what he could do. And that's all you can ask of a man. He didn't have armies behind him. He didn't have guns. He didn't have the high-tech weapons to fight this Tuba. He could only talk and write and educate. That's the only way he could fight. And he did it to the best of his ability. He's still remembered today. Let's talk about this speech. And I'll go to the crux of it, and I have to read it because it's such a beautiful speech. Our brother said, but such and not the state of case, I say with sad sense of disparity between us. He's talking about the African born in America and the Tuba. I am not included within the pale, glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings which you, the Tuba, this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, independence bequeathed by you, by your fathers, is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought light and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. This is, I forgot about this speech. I saw a brother post this in Facebook the other day. And when I read it, it moved me tremendously because I had to see this. I had to read it again. I had to ponder it. I had to ask questions of what have I done to help to alleviate the problems of the African American and the Africans born in America and the Africans in general in all the places they've been. I had to ask myself. This beautiful speech here is haunting and is to the point. He makes references here that you, Tuba, you rejoice in it. You, Tuba, you can walk any place in the United States. You, Tuba, you can go in your car from your car to your house. There's no problem. You, Tuba, you can walk through the streets of any American city and nobody stops you because you are white, because you are Tuba. You, Tuba, you can go to any store and you don't have to worry about someone accusing you of being a thief. You, Tuba, you can walk through the parks without somebody coming and accusing you by getting to the phone and say they're going to make up a lie and say that you trying to ravish them or that you in the wrong area at the wrong time. This is the stuff that our brother here is talking about, that they are still privileged. Now, I know some our brothers and sisters would say, yeah, you're unfair here. The white man today he should not be blamed for this. Oh, really? How many of them talk against what their forefathers have done? I've said this many times, and they are the beneficiaries and recipients of this malfeasance that they have perpetrated upon us. So they are as much guilty. Yes, they might not have put the rope around the neck. They might not have, commanded the ships that took us from Africa, but they are benefactors of it. The riches that they got, they are benefactors of it. Let's look at that. Let's look at this, like what he said. Okay, let's look at that. Now, the Tubab, that our sister India, she made a good program the other day talking about the hypocrisy of America, talking about injustices around the world when he's the biggest killer of mankind. And she talked about the disparity in banking and health and education. He has enjoyed, as our brother said here, the rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. This is what Frederick Douglass said. True. How many of us are benefiting from this system, the banking system? We don't. It's harder for us to get the loans. And when we do, we get predator loans that the interest is so high, we can't pay it back. When they have their day, you see them drinking and screaming and hollering and whatnot, talking about independence. They go home freely without worrying. But the Black people who may be there when they start to go away from that crowd are subject to death because they have a covenant with death with this government. They have a covenant with death with that land, and they have a covenant of death with the devil who is running the American landscape. This is why we've been killed so many different ways. And I say to you today, you think about this, my brothers and sisters. The Black man and his family for 400, 500 years has died a horrible death by diseases, by killings, by sadness, by malaises because of what slavery has done. We're eating food. After 500 years, we still have not been able to digest it properly. And it's killing us. And you think about that. It's true. We're dying from so many diseases that he's not necessarily dying from. He dies from some, yes, but we're dying from a multitude of things that is not hurting him per se. And so when you look at this in the nutshell, my brothers and sisters, what has America done for you? Yeah, you might buy a house and you might have a car and you might have some of the riches. You may have a big TV, you may have a beautiful phone and everything like this. But what happens when you step out of the house? Most of us have to think about, are we going to make it home to our families that night when we go? The Tubab doesn't have such a worry. We worry about our sons now. They get put before the Tubab courts and they go to jail for no reason, or they give them extended sentences that the same Tubab boy, our age of our son, who has done the same thing, he's given probation. And the judge gives we'll give Timmy a chance. He was misguided for a little bit. He don't say that about our sons. Our sons can't find jobs, so they do things is wrong. We know that. They sell drugs. We know it's wrong. No one's defending that. But the same Tubab get caught with the same marijuana in his pocket. The brother, the young man, he's going to face more jail time than the Tubab. The system is rigged in their behalf. So our brother Frederick Douglass brought us a speech that we should ponder, and we should read this in entirety, but to ponder on it and ask questions about it and ask to see exactly where are we since the slave ships began to arrive in 1619 or 1607, some say. And we should ask ourselves, where have we progressed? And I've said this many times. Many will come and they'll jump me. You're way out of line. You're my brother, but you're talking this and that. Well, let me ask you something. Why is it in America that we're still naming our children after that slave master. The Japanese are not doing it. The Mexicans don't do it. Huh? The Arabs don't do it. The Pakistanis don't do it. Why are we the only ones naming our children after that Tubab? I asked that question. And so you say we do it so we can show that we're American. Are we American? What did Malcolm say? Malcolm say about that? Our ancestral brothers say about it. But he said we're not Americans because if we were Americans, they would not have perpetrated 400 years of death, okay, and killings and mayhem and whatnot and disenfranchisement. Because if we were Americans, they wouldn't do that to us. And the proof of the pudding is this: they are not disenfranchisement of Tubabs. Black people, yes. Hispanics, yes. Polynesians, yes. Asians are kind of in between. Some get persecuted, or a lot of them don't get persecuted. Because why? Because the Tubab doesn't consider them a threat. He considers the black man in particular the greatest threat. Because as I said before, you think about the genetics. We're the only race of people can breed him out of this existence. We can breed him out. He can't breed us out. And you say, why you talk like that? Because look at this. We have all this DNA now it's coming out. The slave master ravished our women. What did he produce? Did he produce new white men? No. The black people, even all of us, and the men, we carry that X and Y chromosome of that slave master who ravished our ancestral sisters. I'm still a black man. Even though I have that blood in me, is it predominant in me? You see my face? Is it predominant? No, it is not. His face is not, you can't see his face in my face because he can't breed us out, but we can breed him out. He knows that. That's why we're the greatest threat. So I'm here today because I read this speech. I had to comment. And we have a lot of brothers and sisters in Morocco and the Arab states that don't understand what's happening in America. They started to get a whiff of what's going on by looking at some of the Arab stations in Arabic, and they're starting to show the killings that is happening. And they're starting to kind of understand what's happening in America because they don't understand this war between the black and white, quote unquote. And so they ask questions, and many of them try to look to see what has happened and why this situation is transpired. And then now we see the blacks are coming into Africa, the black man and his family is coming back to Africa, that Tubab who's sitting over on the necks of our leaders, he then goes to him and to make trouble for us so we will have a difficult time even in our homeland, in our natural homeland. But our African leaders are starting to wake up. They're not releasing. They want them to throw us out. We won't do it. They say we won't do it. We were part of why we threw them out 400 years ago. We're not going to throw them out again. This is what they're saying. And the Tubab doesn't like that because the Tubab wants to come in and still dictate to him and tell him, look, you throw these black people from America back over to America. We want them back there. But they won't do it. And we're coming now in droves, and they're going to stop us. They're going to find ways to stop us there in America from coming to Africa. And I take offense from the Tubab when he comes here and he sits there and he tells the Arabs, he tells our fellow Africans, he say, you know what, these African Americans, they discriminate against us. They talk against us. Wait a minute. 400 years, have we killed them like they've killed us? No. Did we lynch them and cut off their private parts and burn them to a stake? No. Did we sit there and ravish their women like they've done ours? No. Do we own the banks and discriminate against them? No, we don't do that. Even to a fault, the African people are so forgiving that we don't have this type of gene, even though, and we have remnants of that in history. We've seen benevolent whites, and we've accepted them. And even though we know that they're white, it's something in our makeup as African people that we're so universal that we accept everybody, even those who hurt us. We more acceptance, but we have some segments that are not that receptive to them. But that's a small segment of that. But we're so forgiving. And this Toubab does not want us to talk against him. He wants us to continue to name our children after him. He wants us to talk about how good he is and how he's our master and how he puts victuals and butter biscuit on the table for us to eat. So I say to you, this is not racism. This is not reverse discrimination. This is talk about a history when we have the right. They control the history books, not us. I told this story many times when I was a boy. Now I'm in my mid 60s now. I can remember as a boy, I hated to go to school when we were going to get ready to talk about Africa, because at that time, Africa was nothing. At this time, to them, they said we were swinging from trees and we were eating bananas like monkeys until they came and then they showed us how to make this and how to farm, which we know is a lie. But this is what we were told, that we had no history. I didn't want to go to school. And I remember that. And I still, after all these years, still hurt about that. I remember the first time I was called Nigger at 5 years old. I didn't know what it was. At the time, I didn't even know I was black. I was a kid. I didn't know anything about that. I just, I didn't care. And even at the school in Compton, at that time, we had white kids. I didn't think about this, but I was made to think about it later when I began to notice that our white Toubab teachers were teaching the white students in the class at Rosecrans Elementary School. And my sister Bina, I don't know if she's here, she could tell you we went to the same school and in Compton, California. And we had a lot of white teachers. We had some black. And the white teacher, we saw the white teachers give, a little extra care to the white students. I noticed that then. I noticed that. And then when we went on to drive across to Indiana, where all our family, I was called this Nigg word in Oklahoma. And I didn't know, but I knew it was an ugly word. And when my mom heard the man say that, I came and I ran and cried. My dad wanted to fight the man, but he backed off because he knows he's in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is a racist state. And so we left. We stopped at a store, and I'm telling you right now, it's painful. And you think about my dad. My dad's passed on. As a black man, you're limited in the way you can protect your family, and because of the system that Toubab has laid out. So, my brothers and sisters, I talked harsh today, and I'm going to continue to talk harsh against our enemy. He is the enemy to all melanated people, and he plays the game. He shows a little bit more love to the Hispanics than he do to the blacks. And then to the Polynesians, he shows more disgust, and he tries to play a game to make us hate one another. And yet we are now showing DNA. The DNA is coming back to our ancestors. We're starting to find that. So our brothers who are melanated, they should not be so quick to denounce the African brothers, because that Toubab doesn't love you. And he never will love you. He only uses you as a tool. That's it. Don't follow him. If we are Americans, they would not treat us in the way they have treated us. But we're not Americans. We were born there. That was it. And I keep saying to my brothers and sisters today, why is it we still are getting sick off the food there in America? Don't you think we would have adapted to the food by this time? Why is this food causing all this cancer among us? Why is this food giving us high blood pressure? Huh? What is happening that this food is doing to us? You have to ask that question. That food does not agree with us. But it's funny, when that black man and his family steps on the African continent, the food begins to agree with him, doesn't it? You notice that? It's very interesting, isn't it? His complexion begins to change, as I've always said. You start seeing more color into the face. You see the physical makeup, the mental makeup begins to differ, because now Subhanahu wa Ta'ala knows that you're back in your natural homeland. So when you eat that pineapple, when you eat that guava, when you eat the fufu and all the beautiful African dishes that we have, it begins to agree with you. You see that. So you have to ask the question, why in the hell are you there in America? Excuse my French. I know I'm a Muslim, but I had to say it that way. Why in the hell are you in America? That's what I want to know. Huh? I want to know, my brothers and sisters, why in the hell are you there? When the food doesn't agree with you, that culture is not yours, that language is not yours, you're not American because they mistreat you. Huh? They still killing you. The court system go after you. The police are killing you in the streets. We still are behind the 8 ball, and all the infrastructure. We're the only ones who are suffering behind it. Why are you there? I have to say it as it is. Why are you there? Many of us may not be able to make it back. I know that because of the circumstances and because, family, and some are older. They may not be able to live in Africa because of circumstances. But even if they can't, they should bring Africa to them. You say, Yahya, what are you talking about? You can still change some of the food. There's things that you can do you can change your diet. And now you have things that are being imported. You can go and change your diet and begin to reflect some of the African foods. And you can look on the net now, you can find them and begin to adapt that food, and you'll see it's much better. Oh yeah, I was in America 50 years. I know how that is. Oh yes. Well, I used to eat at McDonald's and Jack in the Box and all the barbecue joints and stuff like that. Sometimes I even joke about it with Abina and some of my brothers and sisters back in Compton that I still know, so they're still alive and everything. But, that food doesn't agree with us. And I know that. I could not eat it today. I've been far removed from it for now, almost 16 years. So I don't think I can eat it. I laugh and joke with my wife about it. And she always say to me, she said, yes, but if we went there for 1 hour to eat that food, I don't think you could handle it anymore. It's true. I don't think I can even taste that type of food and have that type of desire anymore for it because it's so full of salt and so many preservatives. So, my brothers and sisters, as a black man, as a son of a black man, whose ancestors came from Africa. I'm a father of black men. I have sons, they're black. And I look and see their plight, what's going to happen with them, that they're a moment away of being killed. They're a moment away of being jailed. They're a moment away of being disenfranchised. They are moments away from not being able to support their families because of the racist system that has been deployed there in the United States. And it's a wicked system. And I fear for them. They have their families now. I can say nothing to them. They're grown and they're doing the best they can. I cannot say that I take credit because the divorce system, you know how it is. Divorce systems in the United States, it discourages, and they find a way to disenfranchise the black man in divorce. But my children are relatively good people, and they're doing the best they can, and in the light of the circumstances. But I hope that they will give thought one day to thinking about leaving that wretched land. It's a sinking ship. You have weird weather coming after you there. You have bugs. You got stuff that's going on inside there. You have buildings collapsing as we see here. We have genocidal races spraying the place, killing at will. You have all kind of crap going on there in America that that the United States is under some divine decree that he's punishing them because why? Because what he has done for all these hundreds of years, he's killed and killed and killed and killed ruthlessly on top of that, to the point where now what is happening? There's been a rebound. His woman, is almost barren. She's at 0% birth rate. The European white woman and the American white woman are at 0 birth rate, but not our sisters, not our Mexican sisters, not our Pakistani sisters, not our Polynesian sisters, not our Filipino sisters. No, our birth rates are up. Irrespective of what they're doing to us there and how they're trying to kill us, our birth rates are up. And it's funny, the same two-bob girl that can't have babies by that two-bob husband, all of a sudden she goes to marry an Arab, or she goes to marry a Filipino, or a Samoan, or a Tongan, or Pakistani. And then she began to have children. It's funny, isn't it? It's very interesting. Here we see cases on YouTube. I've been finding them. The white girl was married 5 years, and her and her husband broke up because they blamed each other why they couldn't have. And the doctors checked them out and say, hey, look, we cannot find nothing wrong. We don't know why you can't have children. So they divorce. And this girl goes to take up with her brother, and she gets pregnant. Very interesting, isn't it? But these things are happening. So it gives you food for thought that they are under divine decree. And if you see the craziness that's happening there in the United States, my brother and sister, with this so-called Republican Party, it's the party of the devil. We know that the Antichrist, the son of the Antichrist, who believes in his politics, Trump is running that and fueling that. And now all of these wicked Tubob are coming out of the woodworks. But I will say this, we have African Americans who are now countering this. We have our own militias ready to come to the cities to defend when it's possible. But since these Tubob have the purse strings, it's very difficult for us to overtake them. But in time, we will overtake them, because the statistics show in time that the melanated people will actually be the predominant people in America, because we're breeding them out. They're dying. Even though the food is killing us, we having 3, 4, 5, 6 children. The Tubob sometimes can muster 1. Sometimes he can muster maybe 2. Some he can't even muster, not even 1 child. We're having 4, 5, 6 kids. Our Mexican brothers and sisters are doing the same thing. Our Pakistani brothers and sisters are doing the same thing. Our Indian brothers and sisters are doing the same thing. Our Tongan and Samoan families, some of them 6, 7, 8, 10. All of this is accumulating inside the United States. And we're starting to overtake the so-called whiteness of the country. This is why they're acting so crazy, why they're making all these laws to keep us disenfranchised, because they know they're losing the grip of the land. And they see the black faces coming about. They see the how we're starting to rise, and they're trying to stop that. So we have to look at that. So I'll look here and see what some of our brothers and sisters saying here. Abina, my sister, is talking about the guidance of Islam, which everybody knows I'm a Muslim, and we wholeheartedly believe in that. And our prophet has talked a lot about these coming hours before the Yom Kippur. We talked about the thing, and I mentioned before. And you look at United States, there's a very sorrowful hadith by our prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, where he talks about the signs of the hour. He used a word el harsh. This is in Arabic. It means the ruthless killing. The ruthless killing. And it's taking place especially in America and in many parts of Europe and in Canada. And it's mainly under the white populations, the Tuba populations, where we have this killing. We have African states where they do some killing and they have civil wars, but it's not on the scale that we see this constant ruthless killings, where our prophet stated that during the time of the killing, the person who's doing the killing doesn't understand why he's killing this man. The man who's being killed is asking the question, why is he being killed? This is what we call in Arabic, our prophet coined this term, el harsh. This is what he said in this beautiful hadith. We see that in America today. We got people killing for no reason. They don't understand why they kill. And the person's being killed don't understand why. The brother goes in his car. He goes to get ready to go to McDonald's, and the Tubob rolls up on him. And he's putting his hands up like, why are you going to get ready to kill me? And the Tubob doesn't understand why he's killing. And he goes to kill the brother. We see that. I'm partial, of course, as you know, to the Islamic guidance, but we understand that some of us will not take the Islamic guidance seriously. We understand that. But I will say this to you. You should think of your religious faculties there in the United States. And you should look at what you actually really believe. You were not a Christian when you were taken from the shores of Africa. most likely you were either a Muslim or you had a traditional African belief. You didn't have a Christian belief. There were no white Jesus Christ hanging around in the villages of our ancestors. But now we don them in our homes inside the United States. That religion is foreign to you. They made you worship it, and you go by it and you swear by it. They even changed the colors of the people of the Old Testament to make it reflect the Tubal. When in the Old Testament, Solomon was a black man, and he says, "O daughters of Israel, I'm black but comely." He says, "I'm black and comely." This is our prophet Solomon, alayhi salatu salam, said this. And they changed, and now, of course, we know they changed his Bible. They made it 140 different versions of it. And I always laugh. I always talk about the story when I used to go as a Christian in church. The pastor would tell us to pull the scriptures out. He would give us a verse. And when 5 of us get ready to read it, all 5 of us have a different version of it. Interesting. I found that kind of interesting. Why was that? I try to ask questions that. Why is that? But now I understand why. Because the misguidance coming from it is off the charts. And my brothers and sisters, I want you to ponder your life there inside the United States. I want you to figure out what can you do to uplift your brothers there in the United States. I have a brother there in Atlanta, Georgia, who is always advocating. He's a Muslim, and he gives talks, and he's on, I think he's in YouTube, but I know on Facebook, Bilal Stroud, but I think he uses Mukhlis as his name and for Facebook. He's always giving these lectures at the parks there in Atlanta, Georgia. And he's always trying to give remedies to the Africans born in America. And he and I have kind of talked somewhat a little bit about this issue. And I still believe, he believes too, that the African Americans who are living in the West and the East, you should start migrating to the South, because that's where we first came. That's what we built. We built this country, and we built so that Tubac can become rich off of our labor. We should go back to those lands and carve it out for our own. I believe that. He believes that too. And I think it can work, because we have black enclaves now where it's very successful. We have models now. And and as I talked about before, we have very insolvent cities hanging in the South. And brothers with clout and money can buy these cities, and we can carve those cities out and put our own police there, our own superintendents of schools and whatnot. And we can have our own economy, so to speak. But then, of course, because we're there inside the United States, we still use the dollar, but we will be under protection basically of our own. You won't have the rolling two-bob cop come rolling in there to shoot up and spray up the place and start killing our kids when they come out of the house. Now you in your own communities, we have our own policemen. And I must say, we have benevolent whites today. No doubt about that. As a matter of fact, I give the example. I talked to my daughter, my oldest daughter. Her and I talked about this, and I was explaining to her about how it was when I was a kid and so forth. She didn't actually face real discrimination until she got to the college. Now you see the gap. I started to face discrimination in the time we went to Rosecrans Elementary. I saw the white kids being treated, and I was called the NIGG word when we went on a trip. My family went on a trip to Indiana, from California to Indiana. And so my daughter didn't have this type of malaise attack her until she got to the college. So it's starting to get better. And we have white folks today that are nothing but black white people, because they hang around with the brothers. They know our songs. They act like us. They memorize the songs. They even talk like us, the black English and everything. And they even live among many black people. And even in the schools, they hang around with black people. Most likely they may come to live among the black people as well. And we are a universal people. We don't hold them responsible. And so they can come to live among us. Our Mexican brothers and even the Arabs who are benevolent enough, they can come and live among us. And we can have a beautiful society. It doesn't have to be only melanated people, but the whites who are benevolent, who are understanding, they could come to live with us. And so that is my proposal. I know some will say, no, we should continue to have the system where we are. Right now, we're so divided. The African American is spread across like like you spread butter, hot butter over a table spread. We're spread all over, and we're thin because we have blacks everywhere. But when we begin to carve out our own states and we have all this economic power in it, then we can start to do something. We start to run our own schools. And let me tell you something. Do you know agriculture is something that we've always excelled in because we brought that over from Africa. Agriculture can be a big commodity. And I'm going to tell you something. Of course, the American government, they know that. That's why they went after our farmers. We've lost a lot of farmers because of subsidies and so forth. But we should be able to do something to get these farms back. And we begin to produce. We start using the ways of old in Africa to farm, and also from our Indian brothers, our American Indian brothers. You remember how they gave us the wisdom, because as the Africans begin to come and live among the Indians, they begin to learn how to again cultivate. And they did inside the forests. If you remember some of the history, and our Indian brothers came in and said, hey, this is what you do, like corn. They gave them corn stock. And what they do, they gave fish. They took fish from the river and they put the fish underneath the ground and they put the stock from the corn over top of for fertilizer. Ingenious, huh? They got it from a stream, and this is what they use for fertilizer. So they learned, again, they were re-educated by many of the Indians, and also those who escaped. They came out from farmlands in West Africa. So therefore, they began to cultivate inside, and they were eating good. Smoked meat, smoked fish. They ate off the land. They only ate what they needed, and they grew what they needed, and they were healthy. And when the Tuba began to find them in forests after they escaped from slavery, they found them in societies that they could not understand. They were living well. They were eating well. They were healthy, more healthy than they were. So there's a lot of things to that, my brothers and sisters. I know I'm moving around generally because I'm not going to be talking about this subject much, because I must concentrate on my Islamic program in order to bring my brothers and sisters who are Muslims to the right path. But there's occasions like this I must talk. And I must talk to my brothers and sisters who are not Muslims or Muslims in America to help them, to get them to think, to rethink their positions there in America, and to ask questions and so forth. I still contend, my brothers and sisters, that you there pick up an African dialect. Even if it's Swahili, it's a beautiful language. It's very close to Arabic. It's a beautiful language. And so is the Akan language is also beautiful. And also, most all of the African languages, the Africans in America, they pick them up. Once you put the effort, it comes easy. And it's astonishing what happens when you start to get Hausa and Swahili, you begin to pick it up. And even the Arabic language. Arabic is an African dialect. Let nobody tell you differently. We've argued about this point many times, because you see the white Arab, you say, well, it's a white man's language. It is not. It's an African dialect. And the African person picks it up good. And they speak it, they learn it very easily once they begin to adopt it. So those languages, we should adopt that. I believe every African American should do this. Why? Because it's healthy to do this. It brings you back to your roots. Because I'm gonna tell you, even if you after 400 years, you're still naming your children after. When he pulls your son over with the name of Bob, does he care? He just shoot him dead, doesn't he? So why are you naming your children after him? You think you're gonna get close to him? You're gonna think he's gonna accept you as an American? He's not gonna never ever accept you as an American. He considers you to be inferior to him. So why you name? So you pick a name. Pick a name from the Mindi people. Pick the name from the Igbo people of Nigeria. We got beautiful African names. Beautiful. I named every single child. Even back in those days, my children were born, I gave them African names. I gave them African names. Even those days, I gave them beautiful African names, because I refused to name my children after that Tubab who enslaved us. I don't like those names. I don't make no. It's not racism. Why should I adopt? How many enemy? You see the Jews, The Jews, when they fought, do you see them? What do? They keep their Jewish names. Do you see them adapting to Irish names? No, they keep their names. So why shouldn't we do the same thing? Why don't we go to adopt our own names? We have them in Africa. We have beautiful languages here. I mean, from the North Arabic all the way down to Zulu. Zulu is beautiful. Beautiful language. Zulu, yes, way down in South Africa. And of course, as I talked about the Swahili, it's beautiful. There's beautiful languages across Africa. And when you speak it, it's melodic. Because we were the first human beings on this earth, Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this privilege to have such beautiful dialects. We should re-adopt those. This is what I feel, and many of us concur like this. We should go back to those languages. We should. Because look, when the Japanese man comes into to America, he may come to speak English, but inside his home, he speak what? Japanese. My good brother there, his name is Rocky. Me and him, I went to, when I was working in the government, we went to the same training center. That's how I met him. He was always telling me how, because he's Puerto Rican, he was always telling me that his father made a point that they always spoke Spanish inside the house because he did not want to lose that. But when they went outside, of course, they had to speak English, except in Spanish areas, like a Spanish Harlem and stuff like that, he spoke Spanish. But you see the point what I'm meaning. And even the Chinese, when the Chinese come over, they speak Cantonese. Well, yeah, they out in the public, they had to speak English. But when inside the home, they spoke Cantonese. Why? To preserve their language. Hey, man, we're Africans. Why can't we do the same thing? Yes, we go to school, we speak the English. Yes, when we go to the market, we speak English. But inside the house, why can't we speak Swahili? Huh? Why? Why can't we speak Lingala? Huh? Why can't we speak Ibu or Hausa or Fula or Mandinka? Huh? I mean, why can't we speak language like this in our homes with our children, and our children learn these languages and we speak that to keep our African culture? This is healthy. Everybody, if it's unhealthy, why is everybody else doing it? Why is the man from Japanese doing that? Why is the man from China, he's doing that? Why are our Mexican brothers and sisters doing that? Our Puerto Rican brothers and sisters doing that? The Arabs are doing that. Everybody's doing it except us. We're the only ones who go in our house and speak the language of our oppressor. When we go outside the house, we continue to speak the language, and we don't even speak it good. We don't even speak it good. And this is a fact. You think about it, my brothers and sisters. We have accent. We call this Black English because we have accent. Because why? The African dialect still is on our tongue, even after almost 500 years. We still speak with an accent. You listen to the Tubab when he speaks the same sentence that you listen to an African American. It's different. The accent is still different. It's not our language. So I urge you to look at that, to explore that, my brothers and sisters. Now, I know I'm going to have African Americans who are going to be very upset with me. They say, I don't want to anger the Tubab. I think we could try to live in peace with them. You've been trying to live in peace with this man for 400 years. All he's done is lynched you, and you see the sorry state that we're in over there. So what's up with that, my dear brother who says this? Huh? We can live in peace. You're not living in peace with him. Even if you put up a white flag, he still kill you, shoot you down. He's still shooting you down. So how you telling me you live in peace with him? You cannot. You cannot live in peace with this man. As a general rule, I'm talking about the white racist regime. We're not talking about every single white. Now, don't get me wrong. You heard what I said about the South. We have benevolent whites who have been raised with Black folks, and they play basketball just like we do. They've adopted the Black man's game, the basketball, and they play they adopted the brother style of game. They hang around the brothers. They even listen to our music. And they're almost not even white men anymore. They may come to live among us. I'm not concerned. Hey, God, I knew somebody like this in high school. Matter of fact, I knew one guy like this, white guy. And I used to tell my wife, she'd make her laugh. When it got to the point, we forgot about him being a white boy, because he could speak and he could talk Black English, and he had the lingo, and he talked slang just as good as everybody. And I'll tell you a story about this. When we moved from Compton to Carson, my father, because the gang violence was real bad, we moved to Carson. And one of the first friends I met as a white boy was this one brother named Dennis. I won't give his last name. And when he came around me, I was looking at it. Now I come from Compton. I'm leery because we moving now. I see these white folks, and I don't know how, because I was afraid. I didn't know how they were going to be. So he came over and started talking to me in slang. So it kind of broke the thing. Those 3 years in high school, okay, with him being around, and he talked to me, and we talked, and the brothers, he came around, the brothers, we had our own little table there when we have recess. We eat, snacks, and we talk. Black English, of course, slang and everything. He come over and talk with us. We had brothers from Compton just moved into the school. And I'll stop after this. I want to tell this story, and it's funny. And the brothers, and in the time of the 70s, it was a turbulent time. The racism was strong, okay? We started wearing the afros and everything, and we started having our own identity. And when the brothers from Compton who moved into Carson, they came to the table where the black brothers were sitting. We had our own little table. We had brothers, we had Samoans, Tongans, Hawaiians, all of us, some Filipinos even would sit with us. Only melanated people sit there. We have our little thing there. We play the music and everything, and we sit there and eat. And Riggs was the only white boy there, okay? The brothers from Compton come rolling up into the thing, and they looked at Dennis. And they looked at him, and they looked at him again, and they said, hey, man, what is this white boy doing here with us? We're looking around trying to, what white boy they're talking about? Because he's been with us for so many years, he talked like us and act like us. We didn't consider him black anymore. We would start looking around, asking where our brothers from Compton, who they were talking about. They were talking about Dennis. But when Dennis began to speak, then they understood and they laughed and they came to shake. We had a black man shake in those days in the 70s, and he shook his hand like a black man, and it was it. So I just tell you that story to prove a point that we are universal people. I'm not against all white folks, all tubobs. I'm only against the racists, those who fight us, and against the system. That's what I'm against. So my brothers and sisters, I'm going to get ready to end it here. Thank you, my sister, Amina, for showing up. My sister, Mystic, as well. And those that are who are watching and viewing, who will view this in the future. And again, the Frederick Douglass speech, please get it, rehash it, think about it, and think about your brother's words today as well. Yes, it's harsh, but you have to do something, because we are in a sorry state inside the United States. We got to do something. We can't keep the status quo. We have to do something to uplift ourselves. And there's many things that we can do to uplift ourselves. And one of them is by going back to the South. I believe that. Going back to the South, changing our religious belief systems. I believe this as well, especially adopting Islam, especially that I have to say that, because in Islam, it's a way of life. Even the banking system, the agriculture system, the system is built in. And the African model is very similar to that. Why? Because West Africa, remember something, when the colonials began to come in there, and the last of it, there were Islamic empires all over the place. So they took artisans, they took farmers, they took educators, they took princes, they took many, and they spoke Arabic language, everything. And even African dialects, of course, they spoke. So I would say that we should do that. We cannot carve out Los Angeles or Dallas or Washington, D.C. That's not our home. We were brought to the South. The southern states is the natural home for the African American in America, is the southern states. That's where you were brought to. That's where the lineages from Africa was there, in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Georgia, in Florida, in North and South Carolina. I say with that dialect, this is our home. That's where we were brought. This is where we should be going back to. As my brother Imam over Bilal Maqdis, he talks about the same thing. He says, you come back down here because even the climate is more agreeable to you than it is in the north. And it's better for you, especially when you begin to carve out your own communities. And they won't be able to stop that because of the American system. And we have many African Americans today with a lot of money. And we have brothers and sisters who have bought, like in Georgia, they bought 90 acres of land. We can still do that. We can buy insolvent cities in Arkansas. Okay, in Louisiana, we can start buying some of these cities up and put our own people in there. There's many things we can do. And I'm trying to say that we should have a healthy separation, I think, from the racist tubob. If you're going to say it's going to be better, it's not. Look at the racist Republicans in the Senate, what they're doing. They're taking your vote away. They're trying to take your vote away. They're not looking to empower you. They're trying to disenfranchise you even more. They want to take your right to vote away. So you know what? You have to do something now to break away from that. They're not going to shake your hand. They are not going to do anything to uplift you. They're not going to improve your educational system. They're not going to even try to help to improve your health. Look at this. We're dying more from the virus than anybody else. Us and the Polynesians and Hispanics, all the melanated people, we're dying quicker than they are. We have to wake up. We got to wake up. We got to start doing something. We got to change. We must change even our diet and our way of thinking. We must adapt to African culture. That's what we must do. We got to stop thinking that we can be Tubab, black, that we're black Tubabs, that we can act like them and strut like them. We're not them. We're Africans. They're Tubab. They're acting within their culture. That's their language and culture. That's not ours. We have our own language and culture, and it's here in the continent. If it's Swahili, if it's Bantu, if it's Akan or Desfant or Mindi or Mandinka or Fula, these are our languages. This is our cultures. English is not our language. That's not our culture. The Irish that's not our people. We got their names. That's their languages. That's their culture. We're not Irish. We're not German. We're not Russian. We're not French. We are Africans. We are Africans. The African continent is ours. Our languages, this is our language. We adopt those languages. And you see, and go back to the system of eating correctly. African foods. We have Africans all over the place now with our own food places now. And you can import some of that stuff and even grow it in your yards. You can even grow some of the stuff, your own food, to get you back in health. And we have herbs that we can take, that we have. You can import from the continent to improve your health. We have many things on the African continent that you in America, you can still survive off of. You have to rethink, my brothers and sisters, rethink your positions there. Stop trying to get close to this Tubab. He don't want you. He doesn't even want you there. He doesn't want you in America. He doesn't even want you even in America, in Africa. He wants you dead. That's why he puts the programs to kill you. He doesn't want you to survive. And he wants to stop you. He doesn't care. So why you want to be close to this man? Huh? You think about it. It's like dating, right? Why would a sister go date a man when the man say, I hate you? You know, he spit on you. He kick you. What is the natural thing that the sister do? She walk away from him, right? That's what we should do. That's what they do on us. They spit on us. They kick us by the backside. They talk against us. So why are we still trying to gravitate towards them when they hate us and they talk against us? They spit on us. So we walk away. Okay, we go down to the South. We take Atlanta, which we already basically took that. We go take Georgia. We go take Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas. We go and migrate down there and start taking city by city. Not in rebellion against the United States to fight, to kill, no, but so we can survive, because that's our homeland. The South is the homeland of the African American. It's not Baltimore. It's not Los Angeles. It's not Phoenix. It's the South. It's Mobile, Alabama. It's Jackson, Mississippi. Those places are ours. Those places are, that's where we were in Arkansas, in Georgia, in South Carolina, especially South Carolina. These places are ours. That's where we were taken. That's where we developed those lands. We built those lands. We farmed those lands. We know those lands very well because that's where we were first brought. We should go back to them, cultivate those lands again for our own. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala, with his grace, will bless us, especially if we adopt the right religious system and we go back to worshiping right and stop worshiping that white Jesus Christ. He was not a white man. He was a black man. Stop worshiping the way the Tubab has told you to worship. You are not Tubab. You are African. You're not Tubab. And I keep emphasizing that. You are not. He doesn't like you. He doesn't want you. And he laugh at you when you go mimic him. He laugh at you when you name your children after him. He doesn't want you. He hate you. You have to understand that. Break away from this man. Go to the South. Break away. And the whites will move away from you. The ones who want to stay, they will stay among you. And you embrace them. But the ones who don't, let them get out. Let them move on somewhere. Let those white racists, genocidal racists, the Klansmen and all that. Let them to do that, like in Kentucky and all that. Let them go. Fine. It's next. What you going to do next? Go away from us. So I leave you with this. It's harsh, but I had to say this because why? I'm an African man. I'm an old man now. Many of you are in your 30s and your 40s. I've lived through a lot of stuff, and I see now. I can talk with wisdom. I can see what has happened. I saw in the past. I'm bringing it to the future now. I can articulate what I saw. Even I was caught up in many of the stuff that was happening there. Now I'm teaching you. You look for it. Don't get into the same traps I am. You have the opportunity now. We have the media. You go adopt African language. Please, my brothers and sisters, I beg you to do this. I beg you to go back to Africa. You look at that. If you can't go to Africa to live, you adopt the African culture again, especially inside your homes. Take that language. Go back to our foods of Africa. Bring those fruits, bring those vegetables, and clean up to clean our health so that these COVID viruses don't kill us off like flies. This is what I urge you to do. So my brothers and sisters, thank you for showing up today, and those who listen to your brothers speak today. And I'm hoping that I reached your heart. And please think about our ancestral brothers as well, like Frederick Douglass, who brought us this beautiful speech here to get us to think about what 4th of July really means. And is it the Black man's Liberation Day, or is it two Bobs? I leave you with that. Salaam alaikum.